Now there's one more thing we have to talk about in section 6.3, and that is perfect square trinomials. Now when you learned about multiplication, hopefully you learned what happens when you have a binomial, either something plus something or something minus something, and you square the whole thing. When you multiply it out, you get something that fits this pattern. It's the first thing squared, and then either plus or minus 2 times the first thing times the second thing, plus the second thing squared. Now that we're factoring, we're kind of going in reverse of the multiplication, so watch out for something that fits this kind of a pattern, because you can go back to something like this that's a binomial squared. So watch out for something that fits this kind of a pattern. It's got 3 terms, it's a trinomial, and the first and last are both perfect squares. They're both something squared. Might be just a number that's a perfect square, might be like an x squared or something like that. And then the thing in the middle might have a plus in front of it, might have a minus, but it's 2 times those 2 things multiplied together. Whenever you have something that fits that pattern, you can say, aha, that's just the first thing plus or minus the second thing in parentheses squared. Boom, factoring done. So here's an example. X squared plus 20x plus 100. Notice it starts with a perfect square, x squared, and it ends with a perfect square, 10 squared. 100 is 10 squared. And what we have in the middle, well, if you took those 2 things and multiplied them together, the x times the 10, that would be 10x. And then 2 times that would be 20x. And that is what appears in the middle. So this does fit the pattern of starting with something squared, ending with something else squared, and what's in the middle is 2 times the one thing times the other thing. So here, it's like the a is x and the b is 10, so the whole thing just factors into x plus 10 squared. By the way, if this had been exactly like this, but with a minus in front of the 20x, it would have been x minus 10 squared. And if there had been a minus in front of the 100, then this doesn't apply. Negative 100, not a perfect square, doesn't fit this pattern. Try another example. M squared minus 6m plus 9 equals what binomial the whole thing squared? Starts with what being squared? M. Ends with what being squared? 3. Now for this to work out, the thing in the middle has to be 2 times those 2 things multiplied together. 2 times 3m, which is 6m. It has a minus in front of it, so there's going to be a minus here. So it is m minus 3 squared. How about this one? Can you see what this is? My hint is that this is one of those things that fits that pattern. This is a perfect square trinomial. But what goes here and what goes here? So that something plus something else squared gives us this. Can you see? Well, the thing we start with is if you took 3x and squared that. You got to square both the 3 and the x to get 9x squared. The thing we have on the end is a 5 squared. And if you took the 3x times the 5, that would be 15x. And then 2 of those, 2 times 15x, is 30x. It does fit the pattern. So 3x plus 5 squared. So that's it for that. That was just a quick look at that.